Excuse me. Hello, friends! Recently, I had the opportunity to try the game Crash Nitro Fueled, and let me just say, wow. Was it a whole lot of something. It put me on this weird roller coaster experience where I really liked it and then I hated it, only to like it again later on, and I'll explain why that is in this review. Crash Nitro Fueled had so much to the kart racing experience, and I didn't quite know whether to refer to it as a remake or a remaster, simply because it feels like an entirely new game with a bunch of special features sprinkled into the mix. It's like this interesting combination of Nitro Kart mixed with Crash Team Racing and tag team racing, plus more. There seems to be a lot of additions made for both longtime fans and people who really just want to make the most out of a kart racer. When you boot up adventure mode, you have the option of experiencing the game in classic mode, which more or less plays closely to the original CTR for people who want to reminisce and just play the old game with updated graphics, or you can play this game in Nitro Fueled, the remastered mode where you have kart customization, more stages, access to more items and characters. Honestly, the change was a bit of a stimulation overload, so I can sort of see why the devs decided to put two modes being classic and Nitro Fueled. You know, for people who like to race casually like grandmas, and then people who want to race to the extreme. Okay, let me try it one more time. It's so stupid. So in adventure mode like the original, Nitrous Oxide is back on his bullshit, and it's up to you to stop him from doing what bad guys do by racing around the 5 hub worlds and retrieving all the trophies by getting first place in each of the races. Beat all the bosses on the map like Papu Papu. Is that racist? Retrieve all the trophies, play the relic races, and collect all the gem cups. Beat Nitrous Oxide at his own game, yada yada yada. It's just that simple. Actually, it's not really that simple. It's actually quite difficult depending on what you're going. On your adventure, you drive through a familiar set of tracks from the original game, but now in a new, stunning, and more detailed HD quality remade from the ground up, including tracks from previous titles like CTR and Tag Team Racing. Stylistically, this is a huge improvement on the original, but not so much that it's completely unrecognizable. There are a lot of things I really enjoyed about this game. For example, Coco Park looks so much more beautiful than it did in CTR. We now have the graphical capability to fully realize the beauty of some of these tracks in the game. It's a major upgrade. This stage actually reminds me a lot of the racetrack in Sugar Rush, you know, the fictional game from Wreck-It Ralph that belongs to Vanellope. Was anyone else getting Sugar Rush vibes, or was it just me? Anyways, these upgraded levels are all a pleasure to look at. The detail in some of these are just amazing. I love the fact that we have an even bigger character selection, and just like what I was speculating in my previous video from last year on this game, we actually got the trophy girls. They're actually playable characters.
I believe in miracles!
Pretty sure Activision knew exactly what they were doing with this. I mean, they knew how much people wanted to play with these characters and other. I mean, just check DeviantArt. In any case, great job, 10 out of 10. I love that there are so many skins to choose from, with my favorite being that classic blocky PS1 era skin, which I personally think looks really nice, even upscaled on a stylistic level. I would be so down to play a new Crash game design like this, and I think that would be pretty interesting. Also, the different skins for your karts are nice, even though I don't really care about that. Thanks for the trophy girls, though. It's also cool that each kart has its own unique stats, so it won't just be people playing the character that they like the most, but also there's some strategy involved where people will kind of be forced to play characters whose stats they more align with and can handle, and can just drive better with, if that makes sense. But excuse my ass kissing. Is it a perfect game? No! Compared to the original, it's a huge improvement, but that doesn't mean it isn't without its small shortcomings. I really wanted to skip some of these cutscenes. I didn't need to see Aku Aku wind up again and again, and sometimes I would back into areas on accident and would have to hear his speech over and over. Okay, I get it. Also, I found myself learning a lot of the moves from YouTube videos. It's not that things were overly difficult to understand in the game, but the tutorial section, or rather, that tutorial page, was kind of a pain in the butt. I'd rather hear and see the button prompts for certain moves rather than just being told to power slide. How do you power slide? How do you power slide? But aside from the game's difficulty and control mechanics, which I'll dive into in a second, I enjoyed the adventure mode. The ending was a little stale in my tastes. I get the joke they were going for, one of those 80s where are they now tropes, but the execution of it felt kind of like they could have gone a little further with it. They should have just done a full out, on the nose, cheesy, cinematic John Hughes-esque sort of ending.
that's just my opinion. I just think it would have resonated better, that's all.
But we all know nobody bought this game just for the adventure mode. Come on, let's be honest. So let's talk about the online mode, because that's the main selling point, right? Right?
Online mode. It's great, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I got my ass kicked.
I don't play a whole lot of kart racers anymore. I have a lot of really fond memories playing things like Gran Turismo, Mario Kart on the DS, and F-Zero with my friends. Crash kart racers were always cool, but after a while it kind of felt like it was missing something. It wasn't really something I could pick up and play on a consistent basis because there was never really anything that could be added to it, and on top of that it lacked online play that could have really kept me engaged. So when Nitro Fueled came around, I know a lot of us were hella excited. What we desperately wanted from the original was an online mode, and that's exactly what we got. And this new way to play marks as the perfect inclusion for people looking to play games competitively. This is what we all dreamed of back in 1999. It's a lot of fun to be able to play with others online, and as someone with a really poor internet connection, I found the lobby wait times to be fine. Maybe it's because I played it much later than its initial release, so by the time I got to it, a lot of the bugs were already fixed. One thing I will say is don't get discouraged by the experiencedness of the other players.
Which takes us to the discussion of difficulty and why I seemed to like this game at first, then quickly disliked it, only to like it again.
During adventure mode, some tracks felt much more difficult, and at some point I had to switch back to easy mode. Thinking back, I'd say if you had any difficulties on medium, it's probably because this was set up for more experienced competitive players, and that the standard for racing difficulties in games overall has changed with the shifting times. I mean, let's be honest, more people are gaming in 2019 than they were in 1999, and more people are playing games competitively, and that cultural shift is nothing to throw in the towel over, which takes us into the discussion of the game's controls and its overall difficulty. The basic controls, easy. No problem.
The controls can feel hard at first and are challenging for a reason. Don't worry, because the learning curve is really easy to pick up.
I was able to get down the basic moves, but I also thought the game could have done a better job at explaining the special movesets through their tutorials. Like, rather than Aku Aku telling us to power slide, why not say what button it actually activates the power slide? I'm not gonna get back into that. I found that YouTube really broke down all the moves and was much more helpful, but again, it's just a small nitpick. I switched back to easy mode and then moved up to medium difficulty when I felt better accustomed to the controls. It was there in medium difficulty where I was able to put my newly learned skills to use. There's no shame in playing adventure mode on easy. I see it as a way to get accustomed to all the different tracks and working on my skill without having to worry about getting last place. The difficulty is probably because we now live in an age of esports, like I said before, and they figured this game would do much better also being able to appeal to competitive and seasoned players, so it's essential to get good. And even if you're not, the game doesn't feel like it really leaves anyone behind, because if you keep at it, it's easy to catch up and get ahead of the learning curve with the more you practice the different techniques like, the power slide feature and other mechanics. I think this was a step in the right direction. It gives the game an added replay value for those who want to sharpen their skills against other racers online. But now that we live in a scene of more competitive gaming, the difficulty of racers like this will in turn change with the times. If anything, this should give players more incentive to practice on their own. Perhaps they could change the way the lobbies work and have you play in a more ranked and casual mode so you don't feel intimidated by more experienced players. But with the items you can get to balance out the playing field and the fast learning curve, it really doesn't feel necessary to do something like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I lost a lot. But playing the adventure mode on easy allowed me to have time to learn new moves and really experiment with combos that prepared me for racing online, and once I did that, I actually improved. So don't get discouraged, play it on easy if you have to, and eventually each new skill you learn, you'll slowly start to notice more improvements on your overall playstyle and how you strategize. And with all this, your transition into online mode and harder difficulties will become a lot easier.
All in all, I really enjoyed this game. It's a fun kart racer with great replay value and something to offer longtime fans of the series and newer fans looking to get into the competitive scene. There. It's done. And now, an important message. Hi Activision, please send me your Crash Bandicoot merchandise because I want it. And I'm a dragon.
Pocket dragons, they're brave as they can be. They're small, but what you get isn't always what you need. Something new around every corner, action-packed with mystery. Pocket dragons.